Oh, you like Nic Fit, do you? Sicko. Then I bet you'd like it if there was a Nic Fit mirror in round 3. Disgusting. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video. And today, Ollie has asked me to brew around Flare of Cultivation Nic Fit. In one of my initial MH3 testing videos, I tried out a Burning Wish Escape Shift build. And I'm going to be honest, that was the final round of the day that I recorded, and my brain was shot there, so I don't think I played it the best. But there was kind of something about the deck that I didn't like that I'm going to try to address today. So this was the first build that I put together. In changing the deck list, Flare of Cultivation pushes you in a very certain direction. It pushes you to want to be able to spend an absolute buttload of mana, preferably every turn. And the Scape Shift build, I don't think accomplished that well. Like, when you Flare of Cultivation a Veteran Explorer, that is going to end up with you having 4 additional lands. 2 of them go directly into play with Veteran Explorer, 1 of them goes directly into play with Flare of Cultivation, and then another one ends up in your hand. So that means you can get an absolutely massive mana push as early as turn 2. And I want to be able to start slamming threats on turn 2 if I do the turn 1 Veteran Explorer thing. And in retooling my deck list, I wanted to have some additional hate for the fast combo decks that are running around Magic Online now, and you can kind of see the presence of that both in the main deck and the sideboard here. But I also wanted to have scaling cards that could go well in the early game and better in the long game. But if you kind of take a quick look at this deck list, I think there's still some fundamental problems with how I built it. The biggest being that this is a black-green deck that has a red splash that comes at a pretty high cost. Putting a bunch of mountains into your deck list that has relatively intensive mana pips is sometimes going to mean that you can't physically cast your spells. And they have to be basic lands, and you need a lot of them for Veteran Explorer and Flare of Cultivation. And ultimately, that means sometimes you're going to draw this portion of the deck in your opening hand with your Veteran Explorer and not be able to play reasonable games of Magic. And so I kept workshopping this deck, and I'm sure this is a reasonable Magic the Gathering deck, but ultimately I was not happy with where I was ending up in my brewing. And I also kind of felt like I needed another sideboard Green Sun Silver Bullet, and this has a white pip in it, which is not great. If I draw it, I would need to maybe put a white dual land in here, but I have a relatively limited number of fetches, and I'm likely to use those fetches for other colors in the early game. And I was ultimately kind of feeling clunky about this. And then I saw a deck list online that I know you all are going to like. Let's take a quick look at one of my sponsors, though, before we show today's real deck list. Today's video is sponsored by Into the AM. Now, I am wearing their t-shirts in just about every single video that I film for this channel, and that's about the best endorsement that I can give of their product. This one is Sunset Barrel. I'm a really big fan of it. It's from their new summer release line. And if you want these and other flattering and really good-looking t-shirts, consider checking out their 4th of July sale. It runs until July 8th. You can save 30% off site-wide, and an additional 10% on top of that using promo code ThrabenU. The video description has my promo code as well as a link to their site directly, so consider checking them out to support me. So I saw this list when Caleb D posted on Twitter a screenshot of him casting an absolutely massive Forth Eorlingas after a Flare of Cultivation. And I realized, this is what I wanted. While the Mawloc that I had in my deck was perfectly reasonable as a way to, funnel mana into something, this is more likely to result in a win when you cast it for a large number. Mawloc is a large body and a removal spell and a card draw if things are going well for you. But this goes wide of traditional blockers. It makes you the Monarch, which is kind of a pain in the butt. And one of the things that I fundamentally wanted to do with my list was just like keep the hits coming. And the One Ring is something that allows you to do that. And if Nic Fit doesn't run out of things to play because it's the Monarch or it has the One Ring, I think this shows a lot of promise. And there's some cute little combos in here, like Shuldred plus the One Ring, that are really good. And this gets some of the classic Nic Fit feel of a large Pernicious Deed in here as well. So, counting Pernicious Deed as an X cost spell, we have 11 X cost spells that we can funnel our mana into, as well as the One Ring as card draw. And this seems quite powerful to me. And this build also is taking advantage of Vexing Bauble to serve as an early additional play versus combo decks, or as a way to protect our very large spells from Dazes, Force of Wills, and the like. I am a little unsure about some of the details surrounding this deck. Wall of Blossoms, for example, seems a little bit sketchy to me, and I'm not really sure if Gruff Triplets is actually better than just playing something like Titania or Elder Gargaroth. But there's enough that I like about this list that I'm willing to fire a league with it, and there are a handful of other fetch lands here that don't quite make it on green. Now, the mana is probably gonna be a little rough in this deck list. We are going into that fourth color here, but the white is giving us Forth Eorlingas as well as much better removal than this deck traditionally has. Plus, we do have a green sunnable way to potentially make some extra land drops with 6. We've got Flare of Cultivation. Hopefully this ends up working okay. I did not watch any of Caleb's content, so I don't know whether or not this league was an absolute disaster with the Yorion Nic Fit build, but it seems like it should be very fun, and we have a few very spicy sideboard silver bullets that we can search out. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into a league here, folks. If you need some cards, consider checking out toamagic.com and using promo code ThrabenU when you do to save a little bit on your order. I recently ordered a whole bunch of cards to upgrade a commander precon from them, and I got my cards in like 3 or 4 days, and I got free shipping when I did so. Let's go play some Yorion Nic Fit. Okay, this looks like a reasonable opening hand here. I can Cabal Therapy on turn 1 into Green Sun on turn 2. Upon seeing Field of the Dead, my guess is that my opponent is on a Nadu deck, and I am about to ramp that deck. I can choose to play Vexing Bauble this turn and slow myself down a turn, or I can ignore Vexing Bauble potentially stopping counter spells and just Cabal Therapy immediately. I think I'm going to Cabal Therapy immediately. I think I just would like to name Nadu immediately before my opponent can, like, brainstorm in response. Now, if I'm just playing against regular old lands, this name is embarrassing, but this is my called shot. Okay, well, I called the deck correctly, but not the details of the hand. This is not going to play out well for me in terms of sequencing, because my opponent has this Force of Will that I'm going to want to Vexing Bauble. Oh, thank God. Yes, that's fine. So, this game plays out so much better for me now, because I can use the Vexing Bauble to protect the Moloch that is removal for the Stoneforge Mystic now. So we're going to play this here land, cast a Vexing Bauble. My opponent can decide if they want to Force of Will this. They don't. So now I'll go ahead and pass the turn, and I think I have a red-white Surveil land that I can go ahead and pop at some point. All right. So there's the Stoneforge Mystic. Again, I already have removal for that. In this position, they probably fetch up something like a Kaldra rather than a Shuko. I'm fucking wrong. There is a Shuko. So let's Surveil. Sure. We'll get an Elegant Parlor. I will now have access to all 4 of my colors on 2 lands. I do not need that additional land. Now, just to confirm, my Collector Oof is in the sideboard, unfortunately. So green sunning for that does not make sense. I don't have anything that can immediately stop the combo. I do have this Scavenging Ooze that I could pick up. It's a lot less attractive in the face of Veteran Explorer. Or sorry, Relic of Progenitus. So this might just be my end game here. My opponent has one unknown card. I think I'm just kind of hoping that it is not Nadu. Do I want to Surveil or just make this bigger? I think let's just make this bigger. So I'll take out Stoneforge Mystic. And the hope... because every creature that's on board makes the Nadu better and better. There's the Savannah that we know about. Yeah... Now my opponent probably just gets to bury me in fair cards. Oh god, they're Cephalid Illusionist, so I am just dead. Next turn. I guess I can put a Scavenging Ooze into play and hope my opponent does not end up finding something like a Swords to Plowshares to remove it. I can also attack with Moloch. If my opponent blocks, I can get a new Moloch and finish off Nadu. So that doesn't stop me from being dead to Cephalid Illusionist now, does it? No, the Dread Return angle is covered. Yeah, so we care more about Nadu. Alright, 17. Actually, I can Grist. Let's do that. These Force of Wills being off is a really big deal. So, Grist minus Sacrifice Moloch. My opponent still gets a third card with Nadu. It's an Urza Saga. Fuck. Oh, that's bad. I'm not just dead to Cephalid Illusionist combo because I have the Vexing Bauble to stop Dread Return, but I think Urza's Saga Fair Constructs is just going to beat my current hand handily at that. It is a Cryptic Coat. So my opponent has a 3/2 unblockable creature, 4/2 unblockable creature, and also Urza Saga tokens beyond that. So, my Planeswalker is very, very much not safe here. Let's take some redraws and see if we can cobble together something reasonable. That'll do. That'll do. So I, in theory, want to do this for x equals 3. Do I want to telegraph this? I potentially need to. There's a large amount of Urza Saga damage. I guess I have 2 blockers, though. Yeah, let's just take a redraw and not telegraph this. I don't think I care about keeping Wall of Blossoms bodies around for Yorion right now. And I will just go ahead and do a Surveil here. Let's just get deeper immediately. So I'm expecting Saga Construct token into Saga Construct token plus haste. Losing the Urza Saga here puts my opponent a little bit further away from Field of the Dead, which I guess is nice. Yes, my big worry is that my opponent just like top decks another Nadu and triggers these like Yuko off Construct token a bunch of times. Okay, it is just another Shuko. That's fine. It's Nadu. So my opponent is now going to get 8 Nadu triggers, which I'm going to skip through. And I will give you relevant updates as my opponent is now going to have more than 8 Nadu triggers as Field of the Dead is online. So this is really fucking bad. Now, my Pernicious Deed will hopefully clear most of this stuff. And if I played out Pernicious Deed for x equals 0 with Nadu on the stack, I could kill Construct, and a Cloaked Token. So we're going to jump ahead to when my opponent's turn makes relevant changes. I think I can potentially just die to Thassa's Oracle from hand here. Alright, so we are now reaching the point where my opponent has basically run out of library, and the stack has cleared. So they have made an absolutely massive army, and now they can go ahead and cast the Thassa's Oracle. I've seen confirmation that Dread Return is in my opponent's deck. So the Cephalid Breakfast angle is here. If you kind of take a look at the other cards that my opponent does have, they are incredibly light on actual factual interaction here. So we lose this one. So if I hold up Pernicious Deed, my opponent still gets 2 Nadu triggers at minimum and still has like Field of the Dead coming. I'm definitely better off, and I maybe don't die this turn, but I would be turning the Force of Wills back on, and if I eliminate my Vexing Bauble from play, then the Dread Return angle becomes live. I can eliminate the Shukos, but another Shuko or Nomads in core just leaves me dead to combo again. So what do I like here? Probably like this to get rid of Urza Sagas and Shukos. The fairy stuff is okay versus Cephalid Breakfast. More worried about the Nadu side of things. Electro Oof is actively good. I might Toxicrane to shut off Urza's Saga abilities, and this is, I guess, a reasonable thing I could consider. I'm going to say that the Wall of Blossoms are perfectly expendable here. Nadu not drawing the cards is such a kick in the teeth. That makes these not great. I guess they're still kind of removal. Delighted Halfling makes a couple of things uncounterable. It feels expendable. I would need one more cut if I want to run it like this. I probably don't need Gruff Triplets. I must attack each turn if able. Clause on this is like kind of weird versus large Urza Saga Construct tokens that potentially could come into play. I think I have to run one of Gruff Triplets or Rurik Thar to just have enough top end in the deck to Green Sun 4. So let's go ahead and put it in. And trim a Bowmaster. Sure. This one's a little bit of a clunker, and I'm just going to hope that the Surveil land smooths it out a little bit. I don't think I get to keep another one of those right now. Getting to my 4th land 100% of the time, I think, is just so critical that I just have to do it. Okay, so that's the 4th land. That's good. Flare of Cultivation. I'm going to say no to that. All right, I had to step away from the computer for just a minute, but we're good to go again. I wonder if I just say no to that right now. I don't think I'm going to give my opponent the 2nd mana here to just play something like a Cephalid Illusionist this turn. We're going to make our land drop and pass. All right, cool. So I get to make the first real proactive play of the game. I think it's pretty likely that this just eats a counterspell, but I would love to be wrong. Well, there's a Brainstorm for one. Oh, hell yeah. So I guess I can go ahead and draw my card now. In case it's like a Force of Vigor, I will just know that I have that available. It is a Cryptic Coat. I don't think that one is worth hitting with a Force of Vigor immediately. So, ooh, awkward, but hopefully fine. Play Veteran Explorer, hold up Hardcast Force of Vigor. I would need to fetch another green to do that. That seems fine. There's 4th land drop. This is creatures, notably. Okay, how about no, though? Swords to Plowshares, target Nadu. Opponent gets a Swords of their own. That's fine. I'm going to pop this out. Now I don't get to do the cool line of Force of Vigor, Cryptic Coat, and block with Veteran Explorer, unfortunately. That was something I was looking forward to. Alright, 16. Fetch. I don't have red yet, so I guess let's pick this up. I kind of want more green mana, but I would rather draw a relevant card here. Nope. That's what the One Ring is for. Oh my god, deck. Okay. It's fine. I'm not mad, you're mad. So, bam. Play Vexing Bauble. Pass turn. I am probably losing Veteran Explorer. Sometimes I don't, and I will get to block with it. Yeah. So this is Nadu, Nomads, and Core. Force of Vigor does not interact with that. Yep. So my opponent now gets 4 Nadu triggers. More when they cast Cephalid Illusionist. I always yield to these. So my opponent now has Caracas to protect Nadu. Field of the Dead is already live. I am just going to concede here. I think I am literally or effectively dead at this point, and I'm going to value my time. I still believe I have never beat a Nadu deck. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I could say all sorts of great things about them, but I'm just going to point to this number. I have 488 deck lists stored on this site. That should give you a feel for how I feel about this website. And if you were to go to my profile, you could see all the deck lists that I'm messing around with, including my EDH decks, and you can even see some of the deck lists I record with before they hit the channel. Ooh. We are playing a Yorion mirror. My opponent is probably on Death and Taxes. My hand is fully not keepable. The second hand has a decent amount of ramp. I'm going to go ahead and keep it. Giving my opponent this ramp is horrifying. I think I'm going to get rid of Cabal Therapy and just do Veteran Explorer, Flare of Cultivation on turn 1. All right. So, Savannah, Veteran Explorer, Flare of Cultivation for free. Yes, I'm going to want a black here for sure, or Assassin's Trophy. I think I will put black, green into play immediately. Opponent gets some basics. Now I will gain access to red. Let's get another green. Put the red onto the battlefield tapped. Other one to my hand, and we'll immediately Wall of Blossoms redraw. And we're hoping to draw a bomb in our next 2 or 3 draws here. Yes, you may absolutely Swords of Plowshares my Wall of Blossoms. It just found a friend. Oh, fuck me. So I was really hoping that my opponent could not use this mana immediately, and they used their... Oh, God. Thanks, I hate it. I can somewhat reasonably pay the tax here, but my opponent gets to just like attack, take the other card out of my hand, and make it more expensive. That is gross. Oh, and I get wastelanded. Sure. That is very strong. I'm just not the biggest fan of ramping my opponent here. 3 more? 2 more. So I can just nuke Felia before this gets worse. Alright. Let's nuke Felia before my opponent plays Caracas, and I can just never answer this. But again, like ramping my opponent in their Yorion Blink deck, not the best. I'm going to get hit for 3. Ghost Quarter. Not so much worried about that one. Yorion's to hand. Like, Yorion starts coming down next turn. Goodbye, Yorion. I guess I want to play Wall of Blossoms for 4 mana first. No, there's going to be a window no matter what because of the triggered ability. All right, Cabal Therapy. Target you. Name Yorion. There's a Witch Enchanter over there that I can take. And a Caracas. So good thing we stopped Felia now, or we weren't going to be able to ever stop it. Let's take an immediate 4 mana redraw. I still got 2 basics in deck here. Let's just stay on basics then. Draw my card. That is a Vexing Bauble. That's not the best. So Cabal Therapy, I'm going to sacrifice this. I will take out the Witch Enchanter. Not that it's particularly good, but it is just literally a body that has the ability to attack me. And for that, we're going to take it out. I'll take 3 damage. We're doing okay here. Oh, God, why? That's a brutal top deck here. My opponent can get... They could have Flicker Wisp their elite Spellbinder. Oh, yeah, this is fine. That's very good. Going to play this. It's quite a good fog here. If I draw a Veteran Explorer, I do not. I'm going to go ahead and play Vexing Bauble, and I think just immediately cycle it. Goldred, not great versus opposing Caracas, unless my opponent randomly taps their Caracas for some reason, in which case the One Ring becomes incredibly potent. Yeah. Cool. So, I am dead on board unless I draw something like another One Ring. Let's take our draws. A Scavenging Ooze is a shit ton of life and a large body. That helps. So let's start eating stuff. Don't have to worry about pre-war formal wear online. Oh yeah. I imagine I have an untapped green source remaining in the deck. I do. Let's Bayou, eat Wasteland, play this, pass turn. My opponent's top decks are very scary. And I think they just moved Batterskull and I'm, like, dead, right? No, I'm not. But I'm pretty close to it. So I go to 2. My opponent still has Caracas available, very frustratingly. So upkeep, Scavenging Ooze, eat this, and take 2 here. I'd like to find a new copy of the One Ring. I want to thin the deck by doing this first. So I have 5 basics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, yeah, so I have plenty of basics available. Yeah. Let's thin the deck. Let's try to find another One Ring. Oh, fuck. Forgot about that. It's still a ramp card. But I'm removing 2 things from my deck rather than 4. And I'm giving my opponent more mana, I guess. So let's get Forest Plains. Draw with the One Ring. Gives my opponent enough to bounce Batterskull. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to do this for X equals 3 to eliminate my opponent's creatures. So that's 6 stolen mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So I can eat 1. I'm going to die to this as of right now. Caracas is super frustrating. So let's draw a card here. Try to hit a new One Ring. It is a green sun. Wrist isn't doing it here. How much life can I gain? 1, 2, 3. That leaves me 3 mana to work with effectively. Yeah, I am unfortunately just a little bit dead here. Gotta play this one a little tighter, but this Caracas was damning. So I don't think we want to, like, necessarily Toxicrene or shutting off Caracas. I might just play it as a reach Death Touch creature, though. So my Sheoldreds are kind of bad versus the 4x Caracas deck, so let's fill with a creature that is not Caracasable. I really wanted that One Ring synergy, though. And then maybe I just fill with, like, a Force of Vigor. I don't really know that I want to play many of those. 6 is also a legendary creature. This feels like a very impactful body. It is another reach creature versus flyers. I could also, like, not Vexing Bauble in this matchup. It's mostly stopping Solitude. I could just keep extra bodies over the Vexing Bauble, which is like a slow cycler, and yeah, alright. I don't think I have enough reasonable sideboard cards to board out some of the Veteran Explorer type stuff and not ramp my opponent. Okay, so I can just play Dryad Arbor as my land drop on turn 1 and immediately Flare of Cultivation it? That's a little weird, but okay. I still have Cabal Therapy for Veteran Explorer if I end up using it for that. I wish Flare of Cultivation was an instant. Then I don't necessarily have to sacrifice the Dryad Arbor immediately. But I don't think I can expose this to, like, Solitude, Source of Plowshares, and all the cards of that general nature. Too important, because the Flare of Cultivation is both my green and black mana. So we'll just do this. We'll put the Forest into play. Swamp to hand. So we essentially converted Dryad Arbor into Forest and Flare of Cultivation into Swamp. It's not exactly what we want to do with our Flare of Cultivation. But I think this was better than mulliganing. We've got a Mother of Runes over there, which I can't source to Plowshares because this land enters tapped. Well, we don't care about Swords to Plowsharing anyway now. So I need 3 mana to Green Sun for 1 and Cabal Therapy in the turn cycle, assuming that that is what I want to do. I think I'm going to kind of awkwardly play this land here. I would like additional land drops. I would vastly prefer that they not be ETB tapped lands. I think I'm going to go ahead and bin that one, despite the fact that I do actively want more land. So this is a protected Stoneforge Mystic, but I can just take the Cauldra out of hand with Cabal Therapy, and this is perfectly fine, at least in the short term. So, Cabal Therapy, target you. Cauldra. Ooh, there's some goodies over there that we're going to have to process. So that's not in hand, and this is gone. The opponent has land destruction spell, kind of, and a few angles of disruption. I don't need to worry about Stoneforge right now. My Pernicious Deed costing 6 mana is not the greatest, so I'm probably going to take out Elite Spellbinder with the flashback here. There's Veteran Explorer, Ball Therapy, target you, sacrifice Veteran Explorer. Yes. I'm going to get 2 mana to use this turn. I'm going to use it to just play Wall of Blossoms. That means getting a forest with one of these. And if I get Wastelanded, I still want access to red. I'm going to take a mountain with the second one. And we'll take out the Elite Spellbinder. And just take my redraw here. That's not bad. My opponent's Karakas is probably better than my own Karakas, but I don't mind having access to this. Yeah, I am fine with that. Opponent not investing into the White Orchid Phantom immediately. That is fantastic. So I do have 6 mana. I can play and crack Pernicious Deed to just get rid of all of this stuff. And then drop a Forth Eorlingas on an empty board, which probably just wins me the game. We'll go green, black, 1, drop Deed, and pass turn. I think I'm just going to take 3 points of damage to not allow my opponent to play a creature after I pop Deed. So I'm at 16. End of turn, we pop Deed. I'm going to get a 2/2 out of the deal. So I have this to think about. I think I am just going to accept that. There's 2 unknown cards. I can play around one of them being Felia by leaving back Karakas. And I think I will do so. This is leaving up both Karakas and Swords to Plowshares. It is Felia. Yeah, you can take a block if you want. Block and bounce and then replay. So there is 1 unknown card. I'm going to hope that this final unknown card is not a second Felia. And go ahead and just do this to not have to kind of play this game for the rest of the game. So now my opponent can wipe the board, play a creature, and I will just Moloch with a giant value of X while still remaining the Monarch. This seems quite strong. So you can blow up my Karakas. I guess I do need black for 1 card in my deck. And a Stoneforge Mystic. Sure. Finding Lion Sash. Force of Vigor answers that. So I think I'm just interested in answering the flyer here. You don't have reach right now. Actually, let's just draw a card first. I want to have 2 bodies in play. So 6 is not all that cool right now because of the opposing Karakas. So let's smaller Moloch. Take this out. I have Force of Vigor for Lion Sash. I have a Shouldered, which isn't great because of opposing Karakas. I can play Shouldered and 6 in the same turn and like potentially make my opponent choose. Yeah, this is why I played the extra body, so that my opponent would not possibly become the Monarch. I don't want to pump this much mana into this. I'm just going to take out Lion Sash immediately. I would like to be able to play whatever card I draw, assuming that I hit a non-land card. Yeah, you can eat some stuff from my graveyard. Yeah, it's a Verdant Catacombs. We'll just fetch some Surveil land to get some extra selection here. No, we are past the point of Flare of Cultivation for sure. So I'll drop a Shouldered. This is just a small mana tax on my opponent when they are top decking. I get a little bit of life out of the Shouldered, and my opponent is taking their draw rather than bouncing immediately. Sure. That is Yorion to hand. Now, this Caracas is currently tapped. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just crash in. Yeah, that basically means my opponent needs another Wrath of the Skies. Yeah, this is why we would want to play a deck that looks like this, is the ability to just top deck like this. So we have forced to game 3. I don't think much is changing about my sideboarding here. I have a pretty average opening hand here that I think I'm just going to keep. We hit on Cabal Therapy. The hand looks okay. I'm maybe most scared of Stoneforge Mystic. Just running away with this game early. Miss. So my opponent's hand is not particularly strong. They can play a Sanctifier Invec as kind of an annoying attacker here. Raucous means my Shouldered's not great. I think I want to save this Green Sun as a threat. I think I am just going to make a land drop and pass the turn. I'll just take a little bit of damage in combat here. That's fantastic. I do have a basic that can hit that. Assuming I want to. I don't know that that's the most important thing to remove here. It gets a little annoying if, like, Ophelia or whatever starts getting involved. But I think I am just going to legit ramp while playing around Wasteland here. So let's get Plains. And I think I get Mountain, despite the fact that I have... No, this can get Mountain. So let's get Plains Swamp. Put Plains into play tapped. And pass. Alright, no end of turn Felia. Flickerwisp and friends are potentially online here. I'll continue to take some damage in combat. Yorion to hand. You got it. Green Sun for Grist. And fetch Dryad Arbor, clear that. Or no, this is protection from black. That doesn't work. Ooze isn't looking the best right now. Might just be like a legit Green Sun for Wall of Blossoms. Moloch, not great. The protection colors are very relevant right now. Oh, sweet. We baited out the swords. Okay, I'm just going to continue to do this. I'm going to pass the turn and upkeep Swords Sanctifier, I think. Yeah, I don't. The Yorion is coming. I think I need to just clear the board. I'm taking a lot of splash damage. And I should have waited until that vial ticked up to 4, just in terms of optimization. I can do a Green Sun for 5. This is at 6. Let's go ahead and just take my redraw here immediately. That's not really what I want at this stage of the game. Pull a Mountain out of the deck. Actually, I tapped this poorly. This is not going to be optimal in terms of a turn. I'm going to Green Sun for 2. I'm going to grab Moloch. Moloch this. Pass. I didn't do this in a way where I put the Veteran Explorer into play. Could have done Grist. Instead, leave a Grist with 1 loyalty in play. Oh, that's rough. So now I have Solitude Yorion to deal with. That's not the worst. Oh, it's not good enough. Yorion Solitude. Yeah, so anything that I put into play is just actively bad until I disrupt this. I want to put my own Yorion to hand and just pass the turn. Alright, so opponent is kind of chilling. They can do this to just gain some life. Sure. Now they will cast the Yorion, blink the Solitude, and they still have Karakos Yorion available. Gotta find a way to wiggle through this. I've got plenty of stuff that does it. I just don't have any manipulation in hand currently. Bowmasters doesn't do anything except Veteran Explorer ramp me. I am not sure how to approach this. Let's try casting some stuff, though. I can force the Yorion to hand. My opponent has been very actively playing around swords, and if they Caracas Yorion... fuck. Bluff failed. Then then they are exposed to swords. So now I am just going to go ahead and loop a Sholdred into play, use some mana, give my opponent some stuff to deal with, and then hopefully buy time for me to find something that breaks this loop. I lose the Toxicrene first, which turns Caracas back on. Oh, I lose the Shouldered first. So my opponent's just going to keep the creatures? So, like, Caracas is off. Huh. I know my opponent's one unknown card. Sure. Feel like my opponent just made a terrible misstep and did not get punished for it. Yeah, sure. Pick up a new land. I can get white off of this if need be. I'm going to go ahead and play out a Veteran Explorer. Then I'm going to pass the turn. I was going to bounce their Yorion. Oh, no. Damn. So, I will now play an Orcish Bowmasters. I'm going to ping... I think I care about the Solitude more. So let's put Veteran Explorer here to finish this off. Actually, yeah, let's put Veteran Explorer here to finish this off. Let's put Bowmasters and Orc token here to trade with this. So, my opponent did not activate Aether Vial, hold priority, bounce Caracas, so I get to punish them here by blowing up Aether Vial. So this, in theory, is leaving them with no creatures in play, leaving me with a 4-power creature in play. I think I have 1 basic left. Yeah, I have 1 basic left. This Wooded Foothills is my white source in waiting. Yeah, that's fine. I'm now out of basics. My opponent just plays a Yorion. So now this is either my white or red source. And their Yorion is better than mine because they have Caracas and I don't. But their Caracas is currently tapped. So hopefully I have an untapped white source. I do. Oh, my Yorion's actually exceptionally hard to cast now that I'm looking at things. Yeah, sure. Send it. I also have to start playing a bit faster. I used a bunch of time thinking through something at some point. Oh, that's not great. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't kill the Batterskull permanently right now. I think I'm just going to hold back, not play it. Pass the turn. I don't know that I'm going to get an easy situation to use this Pernicious Deed. I'm just going to block and buy some time. Sure. No targets there. My opponent just moves this. So it'd be a great time to draw an untapped land, negative. So that I don't take a bunch of damage, I am going to just do a 1-for-1 trade here. That's not the way that I want to use that card. I don't think I have physical time on my clock to wiggle harder than that, though. Alright, so there's the Witch Enchanter. Batterskull and Caracas are held up. That's a card. There's a lot of words on this card. I think I have 3 3/3s now. And this is not a legend. When it dies, put +1/+1 counters on it equal to the power. Okay, sure, got it. My opponent's Mother of Runes is quite strong. And my opponent is going to 2-turn clock me. My attacks aren't the best. My opponent's at enough life as well that it's not like I am just going to force through the damage. Yeah. So that's pro-green. I take 6. I am dead next turn unless I top deck something relevant. Alright, I get Wastelanded. Force of Vigor will do. Not the best, though. So this bounces the Batterskull out of the way. Miss this. I'll play 6, it doesn't matter. I'll send in for 9. My 6 is going to get bounced. My opponent can replay Batterskull. I'm still going to die pretty quickly. I am just dead next turn. I am at 3. Yeah, I am just dead. I'll see if my opponent messes up, but Line's pretty obvious. So my opponent needs to bounce Sheoldred so that I don't have a black creature and equip Batterskull. And, like, it just feels unmissable to me. Okay, yeah, that works too. GG. A lot of back and forth in that one. Ooh. Okay, I don't think I want to keep the 6-lander here. Well, I have lands and spells. This is green, black. I'll be off of white. I don't know that I want to go to 5. I am not the biggest fan of this. All right, pass turn. We have opposing black mana and a Cabal Therapy. That resolves. I think Swords to Plowshares is a reasonable name in the Dark Seeing Windswept Heath. That is what I would name. Ah, they have assumed that I am a blue player. Wrong assumption. I think the assumption there was that I was some sort of Nadu deck, potentially. I think we are in a Nic Fit mirror. Let's surveil. Am I fine turning Scavenging Ooze into lands? That's tough. I'm going to say no. Like, that Scavenging Ooze can potentially eat the Cabal Therapy if my opponent does not curve out perfectly. I'm going to play Ooze and pass and not Flare. My opponent has green. It is Veteran Explorer. So, we are getting lands. I imagine that I am about to lose Swords to Plowshares. I always want a forest here to eat with Ooze. I think I'm just going to take my last color. Anyway, I'm not going to try to just, like, put the Bowmaster into play immediately to push tiny points of damage. So the advantage of taking planes is that it highly incentivizes my opponent to junk my swords, and this means that Forth Eorlingas is a live top deck. Yeah. Let's eat a Veteran Explorer at end of turn. I am going to regular. I guess I can attack and see if my opponent wants to block first. Do I even attack? Maybe I don't attack. I don't have gas here. Yeah, I'm not going to attack. I am just going to go ahead and cast a Flare. I'm going to get a forest and a swamp. I will put the forest into play immediately. And I will leave up a Scavenging Ooze activation, as well as casting Orcish Bowmasters. Now we've got this weird Veteran Explorer dance. I will take that hit. I'm not interested in giving you the additional lands. You've got a Flare. Yes. I'll take a forest and a swamp. I only have one basic remaining in my deck, so future copies of Flare of Cultivation are not particularly strong. How bad is this? Oh, that's awkward. So, Scavenging Ooze, eat your Veteran Explorer in response. There's no other creatures in graveyard, so I'm just going to call that okay. I am not the biggest fan of my situation. I feel kind of like my opponent is baiting me towards using my Assassin's Trophy on the Scavenging Ooze, and then we'll play something much worse afterwards. Maybe I don't even eat that. I don't think that's relevant to eat. All right. I miss a lot of damage if I don't remove this Ooze, but I don't think I am willing to remove the Ooze. Opponent's at 15. I'm going to drop a Sheoldred, leaving up as much green black mana as possible. And my opponent's going to start losing life on draws. More land. My opponent keeps tapping and untapping like 7 lands. Alright. So it can't be Titania. Well, I mean, I guess it could be, but there's not a land in the graveyard. Elder Gargaroth. Okay, yeah. That, I believe, will be worth using an Assassin's Trophy on. The fuck? That's a blowout. Okay. My opponent still gets the land, too. If they have any left. They do. I guess I can eat that thing from graveyard. I guess it's not coming back. Seems like there's very little downside to tromping on the graveyard here. The One Ring. Hell yeah. So, let's play that. I get protection from everything. The draw is not fantastic. It is going to cycle, I think is fine. And it's 6. Nice. So I think I am fine offering up a trade of Gargaroth for Scavenging Ooze. Or sorry, I think I am fine offering this trade, given that I have the 1 ring and can like keep drawing more cards. All right, opponent's at 9. I think I am just going to use my mana, and if my opponent can kill some of my stuff and get some Scavenging Ooze activations, so be it. Now, the Elder Gargaroth trigger is on attack, not on damage, so my opponent can have an additional redraw here. But it is a redraw that will cost them some life. Yeah, and they recognize that. So, cost them 2 life from the Shouldered, plus a little bit from the Orcish Bowmaster. I have protection from everything. I think I'm just going wide of my opponent here. I'm not going to try to block and kill this in combat. That's a land drop. Probably not what my opponent wants. There's an Endurance. And Scavenging Ooze can just deal some damage to my permanents. It's relevant because I have 6. So taking out the Vexing Bauble does, like, very actually matter. That's a Grist now. My opponent can kill my Shouldered or my 6. Shouldered can come right back if I draw a land. Sure, I guess it can't, actually. Good line, good line. So that puts my opponent to 6. Lose a little life here. Let's see if I can draw a live card. That's a Green Sun for my own Grist, probably. Rough Triplets is fine. I think I'm just going to take my own Grist, though. So I'll do this for x equals 3. I'll pick up my own Grist. I will Grist minus sacrifice my Bowmaster. Destroy Elder Gargaroth. Do Orcish Bowmasters. Bam bam. Do this. Discarding a land card. Take out the Grist. Ooze. Eat Gargaroth. Ooze. Eat Grist. Ooze now has to be blocked. Okay, yeah, that's good enough. That was an overwhelming board position. That game could have swung either way very quickly, though. So conceptually, I would like to get more threat dense if possible, but I don't really know that that is possible. I can board in like Rurikthar, I can board this in as a Death Toucher. That's about as good as we're getting. My Vexing Baubles aren't very good, but they're redraws. And I think this game is going to come down to like who has big mana plays at the end of the game. I think it's incredibly easy to miss with Cabal Therapy in this matchup. I think I am going to accordingly board that out. Play Oof as a literal 2/2. I don't know that I want to go that deep. This is an unexciting hand that I think I am going to keep. We may end up ramping each other. So, like, even if my mana is a little... Oh, we're going. Yes, I will search for some basic land cards. This means that I can play Grist on turn 1. I am going to get Lanes for Swords to Plowshares this turn, and Swamp for Grist next turn. Seems good. Pillage the Bog. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is twice the number of lands you control. Put 1 into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So my opponent just digs 8 here? Wild. Okay. Also, don't mind this. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Okay, my audio is a little lower than normal. I'm going to bump my audio up 1. Test, test. Okay, that's probably better. So, play Forest. Play Grist. Grist plus. This is green. Player non-token. They thought of that. Almost like the people at Wizards know what they're doing. My opponent can slam a 5-drop. I've got, like, answers. Oh, no. Am I dead to Chain of Smog? I am dead to Chain of Smog combo for not holding up Swords to Plowshares. So I'm going to see what cards my opponent discards, and then I will concede and not make them click through it. Is this the discard thing? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we did not see that angle in game 1. Pillage the Bog seems really good. If you want to be on a Witherbloom Apprentice style deck. Now that I know Witherbloom Apprentice combo is in there, I probably want all my Cabal therapies. Like, now I know that I have something that I actively want to name. Let's not board in the medium Toxicrene then. And I can probably get rid of Delighted Halfling. Let's try to do better than that. Mana's not great here. I think I'm going to keep this and trust that either I will draw lands or my opponent will give me lands. Just like one of those things will be true. Easier to draw black mana than red mana. This scales up better though. So we're going to play a Bauble and pass the turn. I guess Vexing Bauble has some text versus Flashback Cabal Therapy as well. Opponent names Swords. Makes sense. Now they know that my hand is kind of awkward. I'm going to leave this in play because of Cabal Therapy. Am I playing Moloch as a 2/2 beater? I don't think so. I think I am using my mana inefficiently this turn. I'm going to probably end up fetching a Surveil land, just try to smooth this out. Witherbloom Apprentice directly into Chain of Smog is very scary. Sure. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, you can pay 2 if it is attached to a creature you control. If you do, create a token that's a copy of this creature. If you didn't create a token this way, make an insect token. So it's just landfall, make a 1/1. Okay, this is the card that sees play in Nadu decks. Got it. I'll Moloch that out of play. Meaning this Wooded Foothills is getting me red mana, which means Elegant Parlor, so it represents 2 different colors. I would like to find black mana still. Let's put that into my graveyard. I think this is a redraw. That redraw gives up my deed, which I think is valuable. No, let's not redraw yet. Okay, that's my 4th mana. That's fantastic. So let's just fight this thing out of the way, call it a turn. There's a Veteran Explorer. My opponent can use that to ramp even if the Cabal Therapy gets countered. Yeah, so the Vexing Bauble counters the Cabal Therapy itself, but the Veteran Explorer is still sacrificed as part of the cost. So we still get to do the basic land thing. This allows me to get black mana. I don't have access to yet. I have red, I have white, I have black. I'm going to just take a green here as my secondary one. I do have to respect like the Scavenging Ooze in my deck. My opponent is just ramping further. You've got it. So at this point, now I can probably just get rid of this Vexing Bauble, just turn it into another card. Ooh, yeah. Love that for me. I'll crash in for my 3. Opponent is at 17. I think I am going to marginally thin my deck here. I think I want a Savannah. So I would like to leave open the ability to cast Swords to Plowshares and the ability to cast Veteran Explorer. Swords to Plowshares, Veteran Explorer. I've got protection from everything. That's not anything that interacts with Witherbloom combo. That's the primary way that I probably lose from here. Don't remember offhand whether or not Witherbloom Apprentice actually targets. Let's find an answer to that. I mean, I guess I can deed it out of play. Flare's not what I'm looking to draw. I want like an Assassin's Trophy type card. Cabal Therapy is not bad. Let's start there and plan my turn. Let's name Witherbloom Apprentice. It is Chain of Smog in hand, and my opponent has a removal spell. Okay. I think it is worth it to Cabal Therapy. I'm going to name the combo piece so that I don't die if my opponent top decks well. So they've got Grist and Baleful Mastery remaining. So I want to use 3 mana to Pernicious Deed, and then 3 mana to Flare. So green, black, 1, and then green for this. Put a Forest into play. Call it a turn. Now, the Grist is annoying because Deed does not mop that up. Ooh. Yeah. I can get a Surveil out of this, though. which is definitely nice. Swords is a clean answer for that. I'm going to put that on top. And my opponent gets a card draw off of this. I'm at 11. I'm not too worried about my life total. I just have like a 1 ring to replace my current 1 ring. Ooh, what is this going to be? A 6 maybe? Nissa Vastwood Seer. Sure. So I have a Caracas. I don't know. Well, I guess it is still just a reasonable Magic the Gathering card that pluses to draw a card. Let's draw some cards, sculpt the rest of this turn. Those are not the bombs that I'm looking for. Need to leave black for if I draw Sholdred. I think I can tap the. That would take me off red-white. I want to leave Caracas up. This one? I guess it's just physically worse than the other way. Keep this 1 ring. Immediate redraw. A Deed. That's not bad, but again, Deed does not answer Planeswalkers. I was really looking for a body, and I did not get it. I will Veteran Explorer, fetch, grab Bayou, and put Deed in play while leaving up Caracas for if my opponent makes a token. This also just coincidentally leaves up Swords to Plowshares as well. I think my opponent is in the better position here, despite the fact that I have a draw engine. Oh, Ooze is scary. That just gets very, very big. Yep. I guess I have Deed. Yep. There's Grist. There's a token. Yep. I think I am Swords to Plowsharing this Scavenging Ooze, despite the fact that I have a Deed on board. Because sometimes I want to attack with Veteran Explorer. Like, I need to pressure these Planeswalkers, or they will beat me. The Swords to Plowshares is, like, a very important card for disrupting Witherbloom Apprentice combo, but, like, I'm not worrying about dying to that right now, because I'm dying to other things, like my own copy of the 1 ring, faster than that. That's just, like, Gruff Triplets or something. That's pretty good. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 6? That thing costs 6, right? That thing costs 6. So, done. There's also Rurikthar. There's also my own Scavenging Ooze. I think I just like Gruff Triplets. Like, I do also... Or no, it's not legendary. It feels like it should be legendary, but it's not. I'm going to Bowmaster. Ping that token out of the way. Either of these near ultimating? No. Am I killing these? Or am I just killing my opponent? So 9, 10, 11, 12. Maybe just try to kill my opponent rather than fuck around with killing these. Like, I am on a very real timer for the end of this game. Dryad Arbor. My opponent kills a Gruff Triplets. So that triggers, and my other Gruff Triplets get bigger. There's Chain of Smog. Dead to... No, not dead to combo. I have open Pernicious Deed. Alright. That exiles one of my critters. 9 potential power. A lot less than I was hoping for when I played out the Gruff Triplets. So there's 1 unknown card over there. And it is just mana. Seems like my opponent is now out of basics. They only found 1 there. So I lose some to the 1 ring. I'd like to find something like a Sholdred or a new 1 ring. Or we could Fireball my opponent. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Lethal? Sounds good. 20, 26, 27, 28, 29. Attack you. And that's why I played the version with Forth Eorlingas instead of the version that I drafted up. Alrighty. I have an okay opening hand here. I can potentially Flare of Cultivation away the Wall of Blossoms on turn 2, depending on how things are looking. Thoughtseize. If we are playing against a combo deck, and this is like a defensive Thoughtseize, I lose my Bowmaster, which is... Ooh, no. This is going to be fair black creatures deck in some capacity. That's a tough Cabal Therapy. I probably just named something like Reanimate. Well, all my opponent's MTG Goldfish results are with Dark Depths, so I'm going to name something in that general ballpark. The list does not have Wasteland, so I'm going to grab Bayou. And Crop Rotation, Vampire Hexmage are probably the better things to name. Go Vampire Hexmage. Oh, well, we hit, but they did have both of them. So my opponent can Crop Rotation for Dark Depths. And my, Cabal Therapy nonsense doesn't super help out with that. I think I'm going to need something like a 1 ring. Get white mana in case I get another Swords to Plowshares. Let's Wall of Blossoms, draw a card. It's a Vexing Bauble. I can Cabal Therapy away the Crop Rotation Theory. My opponent just casts it in response and they have one unknown card. I think instead I am just going to junk my Wall of Blossoms, pick up another color, and a bonus land. Put the forest into play. The mountain is for much later. That's an Urborg. Do I have any neat things here? Not so much with the reach creatures outside of 6, I think. You're a tree, you have reach. So I could Green Sun for that. I can still, in theory, just do that next turn. Let's do a Vexing Bauble redraw immediately. I'm not going to Surveil. Fuck yeah. So now I can just pass the turn with Swords and Orcish Bowmasters available. There is a Crop Rotation. It is a Dark Depths. So there is sort of a telegraphed combo here. I will cast a friend. Friend pings you for 1. Delighted Halflings, kind of whatever. I think I'm going to ignore 1 point of combat damage here. I'm going to cast a Cabal Therapy. Cast card, name card. Name Crop Rotation. I want to name a protection spell. I could also name Legolas's Quick Reflexes here. Fuck! Damn it! Okay. That's a frustrating one. Not dead, but it sucks. So I cast this for X is 3 to pick up 6, which has reach. And then I'll pass the turn. So my opponent does the thing. Makes their 20/20. I attempt to Swords it. That Swords is going to get countered. It's very funny that sacrificing the Vexing Bauble ran into Not of This World. But sacrificing the Vexing Bauble got me the Swords to Plowshares in the first place, so you do what you gotta do. Fuck me. So that gets Sajiri, which forces it through this, and I am dead. Honestly, kind of laughable. So Toxicrene seems like a sweet thing to pick up to make my opponent's stuff lose their mana abilities. I might board in Rorick Thar as well as a different top end. Rorick Thar has reach, it can block, and represents a lot of damage if I do sort of pull ahead. I'm going to turn Gruff Triplets into Rorick Thar. Actually, my deeds aren't the best here, right? I guess they can, sweep up Pithing Needles that are on the 1 ring or something. Or Pithing Needle on my Caracas. These don't feel that good, though. I'm going to trim 1. Got by Not of This World. Brutal. Yes, I will absolutely keep this hand. I think we're just doing the thing. I think we're just doing the thing. This is a lot of mana for me. And I just do this into Forth Eorlingas. Pick up a Plains. I already have red. I guess I'll pick up black. I will pick up green and black. Green into play immediately. And play out 2 copies of Vexing Bauble. And the goal here is to just hopefully race my opponent by playing Forth Eorlingas. I get to cast it for X equals 4 on turn 2. We just hope that that races my opponent. For sure. Ooh, that's rough. I have some Bauble redraws. Swords is great. So let's redraw 1 of these. Let's keep the other in play. That's fine. I think I will hedge against Not of This World, as it did just get me in a game. That's a Vampire Hexmage. I will respond by fetching. Get the Mortuary and Surveil. I don't need that much mana. My opponent can put this on Vexing Bauble if they would like. They have named Caracas, which is in my deck. So if I want to leave up swords, I have Green Sun for 1, 2, 3, 4. That's very convenient for me. Nope, 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 nope. So Green Sun for 4. Toxicrane. So, that was pretty good for us. I'm going to attack with Veteran Explorer. You won't block. Knew it. So this does also just have, like, Reach and Death Touch. Yep. You have a Dark Depths with no counters on it, friend. However, it does not make a 20/20. I'll have to remove my Toxicrane to make that happen. That's what I thought. Yeah, so my opponent needed to respond to the Green Sun, but was probably not playing around this card. It's pretty fringe. Deck's perfect. Let's try to do that again. Well, I have Swords to Plowshares, which is probably the most important card in the matchup, so I will keep this hand and just kind of hope that the rest of the hand comes together in some capacity. The One Ring is not what I'm looking for right now. That's a Dark Depths. Got, I think, a red-white Surveil land? No. I have one more Surveil land, so I think I am going to probably grab that with this. And then those 2 lands will just give me all 4 of my colors. I don't think I'm going to just play Moloch as a 2/2 attacker. So Crop Rotation can now potentially represent a 20/20, right? Like Crop Rotation, tap 1, tap 2, Thespian Stage copy, I die. So let's try to find some good plays here. Now that I have the 4th land, I think I am okay taking an extra copy of the One Ring. I'm just going to make a land drop and pass so that I don't open myself up to a Crop Rotation death. Like, my opponent would also need a protection spell for it. How sweet would Opposition Agent be here? Sure. Show me a Not of This World, I guess. Huh? It is a Spirit Guide into another Crop Rotation for Sajiri. And I am unfortunately dead at that point. GG's. Alright, final round. Let's see if we can scrape together some play points from this league. Deck's super fun. I'm not going to say that it's good, but I am having a good time. Well, GG, well played. Oh, yeah. So this is an Oops All Spells deck that gets to defend their combo with Grief, which, as of about 10 minutes ago, we have learned will be legal in the format until at least August. So we got that going for us. Oh, fuck, it's culling the weak with this trigger on the stack to immediately get to 4 mana. Yeah, alright, we're dead on turn 1. So there's the Spy. The Spy is going to mill my opponent's entire library. They're going to put 3 Narcomoebas into play, and then Dread Return a Thassa's Oracle to kill me. And we've got the Entomb package to reanimate stuff here as well. We are very dead. So anything that can slow my opponent down is a good thing. I think that includes Force of Vigor, which is like maybe not the most exciting thing in the world here. Maybe Collector Oof as well. But like my Swords to Plowshares, generally speaking, do not matter. I guess Assassin's Trophy is technically land destruction. Pernicious Deed is artifact mana destruction. And I guess if my opponent does not have Bridge from Below, it has other text. But like, that's not good. That's not good. The One Ring's protection from everything doesn't really matter. Wall of Blossoms is is like cannon fodder for Flare of Cultivation. Otherwise, its redraw is too slow. It's not like Pernicious Deed is really great. Pernicious Deed is like Force of Vigor, but worse because it requires mana to be played out. I don't know. Let's assume Wall of Blossoms is too slow. Where does this put me? 82. Okay. Mana Acceleration of Delighted Halfling doesn't look like it matters for the most part. I'm going to pull that. And maybe pull an Assassin's Trophy. I don't know, it just blows up a land. Maybe better than one of these. Turn 1 Vexing Bauble with a Fairy and a Force of Vigor. The Force of Vigor is not currently active. Hopefully that's fine. I think I'm going to lead on Swamp into Vexing Bauble. My opponent maybe has, I don't know, like 2 or 3 answers to this card in post-sideboard games. Grief's off, Pact of Negation is off, my Force of Vigor is currently off as well, like that's a thing. Ooh. You're just gonna play a 3-power creature? Yeah? There's an Entomb? Just another Grief? It's just an actual Reanimate. I guess we can ferry that. Take both Griefs out of the graveyard. Okay, opponent is fine at conceding at that point. I don't want to just get accidentally soloed by a Grief. I have so few cards that I care about in my opening hand. Double Fairy Opener, let's go. Negative. Vexing Bauble's very good, but I don't think I can keep this hand on the draw. I think I need a piece of free interaction. Even with my opponent mulliganing, it does not take very many cards to kill me. No, we'll try to do better than this. My opponent is also mulliganing aggressively. That is a turn 1 Deafening Silence that I cannot cast. We will keep going. My opponent is keeping 5. We are going to 4. This is great. So 1, 2, 3, and we keep some other card. It's not this one. It's not this one. This is Dryad Arbor, which I think we're good with. We'll see if we just get griefed and lose our interaction. No, but opponent is holding up Entomb. So go away, Yorion. You're probably not relevant to this game. I will Vexing Bauble. Opponent will end of turn Entomb. There it is. It is for a Grief. They're going to attempt to just reanimate Grief. I'll Fairy. So we dodge a bullet in the short term. Hopefully I top deck some land. I don't think I can cycle Vexing Bauble in this matchup. So we will just go ahead and miss land drops for a little while. Don't think I can let that Grief into play with my hand looking as unstable as it is. Alright, my opponent is also missing land drops here. I will play a second one of those. It wouldn't stop some sort of like Echoing Truth style card that can answer both at the same time, but we don't have to worry about Force of Vigor on these already, like we know that much. That's just a tapped land. That is just a reanimate on a 2/2 flyer. Hopefully we don't lose to that. I'll cycle 1. Alright. We've got 10 turns, and I'm pretty confident that if I draw a single land, this is not a problem. But this could happen. So my opponent can now just start playing like 2-3 creatures in addition to this. And again, I should not lose to these sorts of creatures. But if I never draw land, there's potentially some issues. So I'd like this to be Taiga. And I'll cast a Green Sun. Be Dryad Arbor here. I don't have a way to sacrifice a Veteran Explorer. And I'll just pass the turn. Is Grist boarded out right now? Grist is boarded out right now, as is Moloch. Sure. I'm going to need a little bit more mana still. Oh. That is a hard cast Grief. Yeah, I lose the Green Sun. Well, I got it right back. So what we're going to do here is a Green Sun for X equals 1 to get a Veteran Explorer. And now my opponent can't really attack with the Grief. They can just keep attacking me with the Fairy. And if my opponent gives me like the One Ring and Forth Eorlingas mana, I will probably do pretty gross things. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is what I expected. And now hopefully I just draw a way to get Veteran Explorer out of play, like a Flare of Cultivation would be real good, for example. Although there is like this. Well, this is awkward. I guess I am playing another Veteran Explorer and attacking with the Veteran Explorer. They still have 2 creatures back for a Grief. And I need to pressure my opponent's life total back. Alright. There's an opposing creature. I'll continue to take my 2 in the air. 7. That's cruel. Don't have black to cast that. Now I'll hold back everything. I don't think it's worth putting the Yorion into my hand. I have so many other things I'm going to do with my mana before that, and I'd rather have the extra body back. My 1 rings are starting to look quite bad, unfortunately. Oh my god, deck. So I was intending on using this as my fireball to finish the game. I don't know that that's happening anymore. I could just use this as 1/2/2 knight. Yeah, I'm going to do that, so I have this as a blocker over Dryad Arbor. I just can't give up Dryad Arbor. Yeah, you can entomb. It is a Narcomoeba as an additional flying body, so I'm dead in the air next turn. This is incredibly frustrating. I am at 3. That is not a land. So I am dead in the air. I think I'm also dead if I sacrifice this Vexing Bauble, but we're already dead in that capacity, so let's... Yup. My opponent will attack me in the air, almost certainly, rather than do the combo. I guess we'll play to our out of our opponent doing the combo. That is insane. So it is turn 11. I got that off a green sun, and I just never hit another land. Yeah, that's lethal in the air. Absolutely brutal. GG's. All right, we've reached the end of the league, so let's reflect on this one. I do not believe, even in the incredibly long games that I had, that I ever cast a Yorion. It is in fact quite difficult to do so, as we don't have blue pips in this deck. I have white pips, and I need 2 of them, and most of my white sources are wastelandable. So against the D&T game that dragged on, that was something that we saw that was relevant. It's also kind of hard, mathematically speaking, to line up Veteran Explorer plus Flare of Cultivation. Flare of Cultivation, just as like Kodama's Reach, was reasonable in this deck. I am not going to say good, but it was reasonable as a thing to cast. Wall of Blossoms was mid. It was other Flare of Cultivation fodder. It did eat a lot of Swords to Plowshares versus Death and Taxes, although maybe it was not necessary to do that, as I've never had the capability of casting this card. One of the nice things about the Yorion build is it dilutes your basic lands. I'm just going to drag these into a separate column real quick, right? So this deck conceptually needs to play a lot of basic lands if it is going to be a Flare of Cultivation deck. But if you have something like 7 to 9 basics in your deck, in a 60 card deck, that is going to mean that you relatively rarely have the dual lands you need to cast your spells on curve, which is definitely awkward. Loved Vexing Bauble in this deck. Like, it was redraws. It didn't quite come up, but it was extra fuel for 6. It's protection for my big spells. It's random combo hate versus things like Oops that are running around. So for what it is, I give this deck a thumbs up. This was like very enjoyable to play. I don't really know how powerful it is. You know, Legacy is currently in a place where there are very broken combo decks running around, fueled by things like Necro Dominance, and being the deck that wants to take the game to turn like 7 or beyond when those things are very popular in leagues doesn't necessarily feel like the best. I definitely like the Forth Eorlingas option. It does put us into another color, and like that is slightly awkward. But you could definitely do worse in terms of submitting a deck. So thumbs up for enjoyment, thumbs down for power level, but like if you're submitting Nic Fit, you know, you are definitely here to have a good time, not necessarily maximize your chances of winning a tournament. So folks, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. Feel free to complain about grief still being legal in the comments down below. See ya in August for the next BNR update.